Rodri will get a serious injury which causes City not to win the league. He predicted this 2 months before Rodri done his ACL. I've spent the last 9 months going back in time, unearthing football predictions from the deepest, darkest pits of the internet. And the results were shocking. We're only a quarter of the way through the season, and there are some clear frontrunners for the Champions League and the Premier League, those being Liverpool. And it's pretty unexpected. I thought it would be quite funny to go back to the start of the season to have a look at what people were predicting for the rest of this season. Let's get right into this. Intro, please.
Intro, please.
Rodri will win the Ballon d'Or before Mbappe wins the Champions League. There is absolutely no way in February, March time that Rodri was the front runner for the Ballon d'Or. It was definitely like Bellingham. So the fact that he's called that alone is quite eerie to me, but surely it's between him, Bellingham, maybe Rodri is an outsider shout. But nonetheless, Rodri got the job done this year before Mbappe even had a chance to win the Champions League this year. Adam Wharton to be incredible for the first half of the season. Crystal Palace challenging for Europe. Well, that didn't really go to plan. But Rodri's unexpected loss in form due to Neptune's retrograde leaves City in 5th. Are we now doing witchcraft and wizardry with the stars and moons to curse Rodri? Because it clearly worked. This guy, Neptune's retrograde, leaving City in 5th. It feels like that's going to be the case by January. City sign Adam Wharton in the January transfer window. Neptune returns to normal. City win every game remaining. Again, somehow they've predicted Rodri's loss in form / injury. And this guy's suggesting that City sign Wharton in the January transfer window. Pep Guardiola mishandling Calvin Phillips was probably the worst thing possible for Manchester City in the last couple of years, because look where they are now. They haven't got a DM. They're playing with like Gundogan in the holding position. Did you see him tracking back in the Spurs game the other day? He's got no legs. With Palace not regaining half the form that they had at the end of last season, could they go on to sell Adam Wharton for the right price in January? Liverpool under Arne Slot will play the most aesthetic football in the Premier League this season. Was anyone calling that at the start of the season? How has he... It's taken a year for that new midfield to really get going. And it was quite obvious, if you replace that engine room, the old Liverpool would be back. And they're back. They are playing some really nice football last night. Absolutely clarted Real Madrid last night. Even the Liverpool youth grads like Curtis Jones and Conor Bradley are playing out of their socks. Probably the best players on the pitch last night. Arne Slot is really cooking something special. Arsenal to be beaten to the title by a third team in a 2-horse race. If that doesn't describe the 24-25 season at the moment, I don't know what does. The 2-horse race, by that I think he means Arsenal and Manchester City for the past 2 seasons, being beaten by a third team, Liverpool, who are now 9 points ahead in the Premier League. Which leads to Pep Guardiola announcing his retirement from football. He's just signed a 2-year contract, but he's just suggested that he likes to hurt himself in his last interview. He looks like he needs some help at the moment. Whether that means that he needs a break from football, I don't think it will last forever. I think he'll get back to some winning ways, but it's looking pretty bad for him at the moment. Chelsea sacked Maresca whilst languishing in 12th place. That's obviously not the case. A lot of people in this thread suggested that with everything going on at Chelsea, too many players, new manager, it was all going to go to shit. Turns out the manager's really good. Turns out all the extra players are helping with all the fixtures and the game schedule. Turns out Chelsea have a new blueprint to win and might even get top 2 this season if they continue the form they're in. Chris Wood scores 18 league goals and no one can understand how. Chris Wood has started life in the Premier League this season, probably his best season to date. He's got like 8 in his first 11. To be fair to him, he did get 14 league goals last season, but he's already on 8, so he's 6 below that, and there's 30 games to go this season. Who calls that? Mark my words, City will come 4th this season. Not many people were calling for City's downfall this season. I mean, it's pretty unprecedented times at Manchester City Football Club at the moment, but 4th sounds about right. A lot of teams will get caught out by the extra Champions League games and struggle come Christmas. Plenty of people had Aston Villa coming 4th again this season, and look where they are, languishing mid-table at the moment. A lot of people might have predicted Aston Villa to come 4th again this season, but it was never going to happen with all those extra games. Same thing happened to Newcastle last season or 2 seasons ago. All those extra games catch up to you and you have an injury crisis. Aston Villa fans will say currently, oh, we're in an injury crisis. Yeah, because you're playing so many extra games. It was obviously going to happen. Ipswich stay up and beat at least one of the big 6 teams at Portman Road. They did one better and beat Spurs away in the Spurs stadium. That's even better, I would say. I mean, at Portman Road, it'd be sick for the Ipswich fans to all see beating a big 6 team. but doing it in someone's own backyard might be even better. And Liverpool win the Champions League with Salah leaving to Saudi afterwards. This might have legs. There are very few teams in the Champions League doing well this season. Liverpool are 5-0. Will Salah leave after? He's just mentioned that he is closer to leaving Liverpool than staying at the moment. He's like their best player this season, but somehow they haven't signed a new contract. I don't know why being 32 or whatever it is would be a problem, because he's clearly in prime form still. Leaving to Saudi would just not make sense. Rodri will get a serious injury which causes City not to win the league. He predicted this 2 months before Rodri done his ACL. Predicting that Rodri would get a season-ending injury is pretty impressive in itself, but I guess that goes to show how important Rodri is for the Manchester City team, because of how poorly they're doing now. They've just self-imploded. You can begin to see that, like, the team is aging, a few injuries, and the whole team has gone to shit. But was it that obvious 4 months ago that this guy's gone and literally predicted how City's season is going so far? Krug will challenge for the Golden Boot. I mean, West Ham signed some class players this season, and everyone thought they were going to do well, but it takes time to gel. Krug, yeah, he seemed like a classic Barclays baller, but just don't come around so often anymore. I don't even know if he's played that much this season. Bellingham will get second season syndrome and drop off in quality, but he's still a good player. Unfortunately for Bellingham, like, he's accommodating the new Kylian position and he's playing in midfield, which, look, he's still a great player. Does it mean that some players might leave at the end of the season, like Rodrigo or, I don't know, Tchouaméni, because he's now dropping back into centre-back? I honestly don't know. Mbappe will disappoint. He's not taken to life at Real Madrid quite like Jude Bellingham did last season. And I think, does that not tell you a lot about how good Jude Bellingham was last season? People played down how well Bellingham played last season, and they said he was a media PR stunt, and he talked about it in an interview recently. But Mbappe playing how he is at the moment, who's played on the biggest stage for the last 5 to 10 years in the World Cup final, and he's not doing well at Real Madrid, I think shows you how well Bellingham played last season and how good of a player he is. Cunha will get 25 goals and assists. Cunha is already on like 10 goals and assists this season, and we're only like 15 games in. He is an unreal player. Feels like if he keeps playing well, he might be in with a big transfer coming up, because Man City to sign Cunha and Adam Wharton in the January transfer window sounds like a very Man City thing to do in such a crisis. Lewis Hall will establish himself as one of the best fullbacks in the league this season, making his debut for England in the process. England are pretty out of fit left backs. Chilwell and Shaw are the most unfit left backs known to man, and Lewis Hall has been one of Newcastle's best players this season. He's more of a left wing back. He's a Chelsea grad. He's played with Thomas Tuchel. Who's coming into the England setup? Thomas Tuchel needs left wing backs. It feels like a match made in heaven, and I feel like Lewis Hall will definitely be playing in Tuchel's setup. I have no doubt about it. So this is pretty spot on. Thank you so much for watching. This is a bit something different. Obviously, we can't tell what's going to go on later in the season because it is a marathon, not a sprint. I hope you enjoyed. I'll catch you later. Peace.